The latest Magic the Gathering set, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, features several new cards that ask you to roll a d20. A d20 is a 20-sided die, also called an icosahedron, where all opposite sides add up to 21. It is really a staple of Dungeons and Dragons, but what if you're playing a game and discover that, you need to roll a d20 but don't have one? Can you use something else, like a spindown or a phone, perhaps even a d6, a coin, or just the hands of two players? Well, the answer to all those questions is yes, and in this video I'll show you how. Now, let's start off with a spindown, which is a 20-sided die where consecutive numbers are on adjacent faces. Provided you properly shake and then fairly roll the die, it is basically the same as a d20. However, all the highest numbers are on one side of a spindown, which means that if you don't properly bounce and roll the die, but just, drop it onto the table flat, you could theoretically manipulate it into showing one of the higher numbers. Perhaps to avoid awkward discussions on whether a roll was done properly or not, Matt Tabak from Wizards of the Coast ruled that in competitive events, you should not use spindowns. Still, in casual play at the kitchen table, a spindown could be totally cool. Next up, what if you have access to a computer or a phone? Now, in that case, you could go to a website like random.org to generate a random number between 1 and 20. Also, most phones have plenty of MTG apps that can also simulate rolling a d20. But now it gets interesting. With just one 6-sided die, can you still obtain a uniform distribution over the integers from 1 to 20? Well, it gets a bit more complicated and it will require multiple rolls, but yes. One possibility is to split the outcomes into 4 equal groups. Then with the first roll of a d6, if it is 1, 2, 3 or 4, you select the corresponding group. If you rolled 5 or 6, you have to re-roll. Once you have selected a group, you then roll again and use that second roll to choose which sequential number from that group. If you roll a 6, re-roll. So for example, suppose you start rolling, first roll it's a 5, well, have to re-roll, then you roll a 3, which means that you'll end up with 11, 12, 13, 14 or 15. Then, second roll to decide which of those 5 numbers it's going to be, you roll and it's a 6, that's going to be a re-roll. Then you roll 2, which in this group corresponds to the second number, which is 12. So the end result is 12, and that's how you effectively roll a d20 with a d6. With a coin, you should flip 5 coins, let heads represent 1 and tails 0, and then just note down the results on a sheet of paper. For example, tails, heads, heads, tails, heads would yield 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. This can be viewed as a binary number. To convert it into, a more familiar number in the decimal system, you have to multiply each entry by the corresponding power of 2. So in this example, it would be 8 plus 4 plus 1 or 13. If you end up with 0 or any number larger than 20, you would have to reflip all 5 coins again. But this is how you could simulate rolling a d20 with just a coin. Now finally, what if you only have the hands of yourself and your opponent? Well, there's still a way to do it. First, because we only have 10 fingers, we have to split the set of outcomes in 2. That is, we need to randomly pick between either 1 to 10 or 11 to 20. Such a binary choice can be done in many ways, but just using the hands of you and your opponent, rock, paper, scissors would work. If you win, you pick 1 to 10. If you lose, you pick 11 to 20. Let's suppose it's the latter, and then all we need to add is a uniform distribution from 1 to 10. So to that end, both players must put their hands under the table, hold up any number of fingers from 1 to 10, and then reveal their finger counts simultaneously. The outcome, based on the number of fingers that I hold up and the number of fingers that my opponent holds up, will be the sum of those finger counts modulo 10. So, for example, if I hold up 3 fingers and you hold up 4, then the result is 7. If I hold up 8 and you hold up 9, then the result would be 17, but thanks to modulo 10, it becomes 7. If at least one of the 2 players chooses their finger count completely randomly, then it can be proven that the result of that modulo sum is a uniform distribution from 1 to 10, which is all we needed at that point. In this example, if the outcome would be 7, then we choose the 7th number from the set that still remains, which would then be 17. So, next time you need to roll a d20 without a d20, remember that it is possible to do it in various ways, including a 6-sided die, a coin, or just your hands. Good luck hitting those natural 20s.